Feeling lost in the maze of CPS? Desperate to get your child back? You're not alone. Countless parents face the heart-wrenching reality of family separation. The legal system can be overwhelming, but there's hope.
Now, here's the key. Babe, that's how you win a 6-month hearing.
Thank you.
If you do all of those things, you're going to blow your social worker's mind, you're going to blow your attorney's mind, and you're going to blow away the judge.
With attorney Vincent W. Davis, a dedicated legal expert with 39 years of experience, committed to helping families like yours. Join his weekly live Q&A on Zoom, where you can ask your burning questions about CPS cases. Get the knowledge and strategies you need to fight for your child's return.
Alrighty, good evening everyone. This is a question and answer session.
Are you ready to take control of your family's future? Participate as a one-time guest. Don't let fear hold you back. Take the first step towards reuniting your family. Join us now.
Good morning and welcome. Welcome to a live podcast. I'm Bob Pace, and here we are to fight CPS and hang on to our children. I know all of you that first tune in or first listen in, you are faced with the reality of this agency called CPS. Now, I call it the Child Protection Systems. There are many systems in every county, in every state, and around every country. And it's a long history here, but CPS is a government agency in the United States that investigates allegations of child abuse or neglect. And if confirmed, there's intervention by providing service to family through what's called a safety plan. Also including monitoring, supervision. And if a safety plan is not feasible or in emergencies, remove the child from the custody of their parent, legal guardian. Now that all says in a nutshell. But what's happened is that there are over thousands and thousands of CPS systems throughout the United States. And I've talked to over 900 people throughout all 50 states, including the District of Columbia. And I've also talked to 21 countries. Yes, this podcast is open worldwide. It's a worldwide podcast. And I've talked to Indonesia, Bangladesh, India, Saudi Arabia, Libya, and in Africa, I've talked to Liberia, Sudan, Rwanda, Mozambique, and 4 provinces in South Africa. Then up to Europe, it's been England, Scotland, Wales, and Denmark and Sweden. Then across the pond, it's been Canada, 4 provinces there. And of course, the United States, all 50 states, including the District of Columbia. Then south of border, Mexico, and then in South America, Grenada, then across Pacific, New Zealand, and then 2 states in Australia. That's a cross-reference of over 900 some people. They all have one thing in common. The CPS system has gone rogue, meaning that they are no longer transparent or want to work with you. They retaliate. They lie. I mean, they really are. And they automatically take your child whether in imminent danger or not. Now, not only is CPS supposed to protect our children neglect, they're supposed to help you in the areas of needing food, shelter, clothing, transportation, education, and medical. Also help you look for a job. It's a big role that they have. And there are many different names, so it gets confusing. When I say CPS, I say all the systems in all the counties and all the states in every country. And sometimes the Department of Children and Family Services is the name, because what they're trying to do is they're trying to change it as opposed to child-centered services. It's also ones that gone rogue, $1 trillion business, $1 trillion business. They have made lots of money, and it's money driven. There's a law signed that purposely encouraged adoption and foster care to go faster. President Clinton signed a law, the Incentive Act, where they're given bonuses on top of the money that they get for having the kids adopted into foster care. Now, they're supposed to do reunification. This is the sad part, because it seems like reunification is left by the wayside. It's very important because, if they need to break apart the family, they need to reunify the family. Now, this abuse of children has been going on since the 1600s all the way up through present day. There's been lots of history about it. And the CPS system today, is supposed to protect our children from neglect and abuse by having lay people or professionals call in and report such abuse. But the downside is when they report the abuse, these social workers, see, this is all part of social services. Congress mandated social service create the child protection system. So these social workers believe what the layperson or the professional says. So right away, you're guilty. And that's the hard part. Every other court of law, you're innocent until you're proven guilty. But in the court of law of CPS, which is dependency court, family court, juvenile court, you're guilty and you have to prove your innocence. And I hate to say it, that there's some of the CPS that got overzealous. My case, I know firsthand because I too was attacked by CPS. Now, who am I? I'm a loving father, a husband who's raised 6 children. I have 3 older ones and 3 younger ones. And I have 41 years of marriage. So I have a lot of life skills that I can share. But one thing I know, I have a lot of compassion for all of you. All of you are hurting. And that is really tough when you're hurting. You feel alone and stuff. Sometimes you feel like you're Alice in Wonderland. You've fallen in this rabbit hole. You met the Cheshire cat who's directing you from one room to the next room and not making any sense. Fighting CPS is like open heart surgery. You need a powerful tool. You need a professional hired attorney in the areas of juvenile law, family law, and dependency law. Someone that has fought CPS and got children back. Not only that, they've also, when the case is closed, done a lawsuit and won civil cases with lots of money. They've won. That's the kind of individual you want. And that leads me into my first rule number 1. You need to have an attorney. It's just like open heart surgery, you need a professional doctor. A plumber is not going to work. Now, you may think that, I can go pro pro se, which means I'm going to defend it myself. There's no way you can, because CPS has lots of money and they have really professional lawyers that are tricky. They also influence the judge and social worker, so it works against you. They also hope that you take the court-appointed attorney, the public defender, because that individual is hired by CPS and does not have a background in juvenile, family, or dependency law, is a criminal attorney fresh out of law school. And they usually are saddened with 30 or more cases. So they're overburdened, so they're not going to have time for your case. So you got to stay away from them. Now, if you suddenly say that you're homeless, you don't have money and stuff, they're going to assume you don't have money for an attorney. But I told you the other day, I was speaking to one of my regulars that comes back to my room every so often. And she said, with your advice, I got an attorney and I got my kids back. It will work. And there's lots of ways you can do it by getting an attorney. You can sell your home. You can take a mortgage. You can take out a loan. But if you're faced to work with a court-appointed attorney, a public defender, you need to really kick them in their seat of their pants to work for you. You have to tell them that if they don't perform, that you'll sue them for neglect and that you report them to the State Bar Association and make your complaint into the attorney that way. Now, I'm on twice a day. You found me on Facebook, and I'm glad you did. And I welcome you. You're in this room, and there's lots of things you can do. You can drop emojis, such as a heart, a thumbs up, a smiley. Please check below to follow me. And if you want to be notified I'm on, please check that also. But I encourage you to take notes. Also, there's another way you can interact in this podcast. You can text a message, either in the form of a question or a comment, but it must pertain to CPS. All I ask is you show your first name and the city or county your case was in and the state. And if you're from another country, your country and your provinces, along with everything else asked. Also, try to be complete with your CPS case. Start at the beginning and tell me about it and tell me how you got there and where you are today. But I will answer your question. I will answer your question. If not, I'll try to look it up. I'll try to look it up. Now, a third way to interact with this podcast is to be a guest on my show. I'd love to have you as a guest. I have a producer named Grace. She's my show producer, and she'll make the arrangements. She works hard, and I want to thank her. Now, her email is grace@vincentwdavis.com. And you would just send an email and say, I want to be on one of my 14 shows. Now, I'm on every day at 10 o'clock in the morning Pacific Standard Time. And I'm on the evening at 7 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. Now, there's 2 days a week that there's differences. I'm on at 8 o'clock. That's Saturday and Sunday. I come on at 8 o'clock. That's the West Coast time. I'm broadcasting from California, from Surf City, USA, 3 blocks from the ocean. It's from my home, and I definitely am here to help you. And I don't disappear. I've been doing this now for 15 months, 16 months. I started October of 2023. So I have lots of shows recorded and lots of things you go back and listen and see what's missed or hear other people's cases. But I continue to do this, so you always have somebody here. If you're in court during the week and something comes up, you know that night I'll be on, or the next day morning. You know that. So please, if you want to be a guest, that is the way you're guaranteed you can talk on the show. And I can take up 9 of you as guests. I've had as max of 4. So each of you will be able to talk about your case, help others, and so forth. This room is real helpful because other parents here share their story and do help. They do help. Now, she'll send you a link. You use the link to get on. It's called StreamYard is the application. I broadcast on YouTube, but it's StreamYard, the application. And you can get on. Now, she will give you the link. If you get knocked off, use the link again. It's good for the entire show. Also, she'll tell you what to do or say and what you can't say or do. Now, a fourth way to interact in this room is to call in to my office number. It's 626-698-0990. That's direct line to my phone. I use an internet application called Vonage that handles the phone on the internet. So it's 626-698-0990. And I'll take your call and talk to you on the show. And you can talk on the speakerphone and ask your questions. And other people too will hear you. So I'm live. You can call during the show. Before the show or after the show or after the podcast, before the podcast, I can't talk. It's got to be during the show. That's my limits there. So again, I give a warm welcome to all the stragglers that are coming in there. There's also a group of about 20 to 30 of you that come in here regularly. And I so enjoy hearing from you and how your cases are doing and what has happened. And I do appreciate your appreciation. Because it's not easy to go here, cast into the world so you don't know who's hearing you. You know, you're a family man. You have issues too you're dealing with at home with family. And I'm really going through a rough time with family right now. A lot of it has to do with my history in CPS. Now, my case in history of CPS started in 2010. And unfortunately, it happened right after I lost my job. I had a job for 45 years. I was 60 years old and lost my job through no fault of my own. Through no fault of my own. 2010 was a hard time for me, losing a job and dealing with a predatory loan. Now, predatory loans were bad things, and the banks were failing because they gave away too many loans that they shouldn't have. And what was happening is the lenders were docking up the documents, meaning they're altering the income, increase enough so that you would more than qualify. But you really should have got an attorney. I should have in the very beginning. I didn't. I used the court-appointed attorney, and it went nowhere. The woman was just terrible. She didn't talk to you too long. It was like her way or the highway. Now, I'm one of those people that are very caring, and I live by a motto. Don't judge someone until you walk in their moccasins. Don't judge somebody unless you walk in their moccasins. You don't know what the other person's going through. You don't know where they've been or what's happened. They may have had a bad day or whatever the case may be. Another thing about these social workers in these CPS systems, the child protection systems, they found the attractiveness of bonuses and incentives more important than being fair with families. In my case, they took my 3 young children who are still living at home, the older ones had grown up, and took them because they thought they were in imminent danger, and they weren't. They would go to school every day. They're in school on the day that they met with me, and that was in 2015. But unfortunately, from 2010 to 2015, unbeknownst to me, a layperson, which was my in-laws, my wife's mother and father and 3 sisters and brothers, were calling in falsified reports. That's the trouble with lay people. I would say half the lay people that call in are using for other motives. Maybe to alienate the children from a spouse. Maybe they get revenge to a neighbor because a dog barks too loud or their yard's overgrown. It is wrong to take advantage because CPS takes every case they hear for real. So when someone fabricates a story, that makes it so difficult. I just see a good morning, and I'm so glad to hear that, a good morning. And a good morning to you, Christina Laycock. Glad to meet you. Do you know where you're at, where you're from, and something about your case? Or how can I help you, Christina? Now, I have 7 Facebook rooms that deal with CPS, and all of you found them. And if you write a comment right now, it all comes to this room. There's a YouTube room too. So I have 7 Facebook rooms and a YouTube room. So that's a total of 8. Now, I know it's hard to get started to talk about something. Like one person who's been on my show for all 15 months that shows and leaves emojis and stuff. Took her almost 15 months, but she finally opened up and talked to me on the show. She's from Canada, and she's a regular in this room, and she always would say hi and talk about her lost child. So she was going through a very traumatic time, but she is welcome, and I appreciate that and got to know her. Now, Christina says, okay, you're from Montana. You're the second person from Montana, or third. I have Betty Jo from Montana, and she's from the city called Salisbury. County for CPS there is called Canton County. And what kind of a case do you have, Christina? How can I help you? What are the questions that are pressing you? I'd love to help you. Oh, you're Missouri. Well, I thought MAMO stands for Montana. Salisbury, Montana. Okay, from Missouri. That's great. I have Margaret from Missouri, from St. Louis. I have several people from Missouri. And welcome. So, what question do you have, or how can I help you? I want to help you get over the hump or wherever you're stuck with. Now, as she's thinking about what to say there, I want you all to know that there are five important rules that I've come up with based on my experience. And I wish I'd followed them. I wish I'd done them. And rule number one is get an attorney. That is the most important rule, because without that tool, without someone defending you, you're not going to get your kids back. You'll be eaten up alive. CPS, majority of them are bad. Now, Christina, what happened? Is there something that your child was taken from you from neglect or abuse, or is there something you're in a trial right now you need some help on? I will gladly try to help you. Going back to my rule number one, when you search for an attorney, you need to do at least 3 attorney quotes. You need to get 3 quotes on attorneys. And when you look it up on the internet, you should first use the city and the name, followed by a CPS, and then put a family law, juvenile law, dependency lawyer. That's how you should address the question. And a bunch of names will pop up. And all you have to do is call each of them and ask those 2 important questions. Question 1, are you trained as a juvenile family dependency lawyer? That means juvenile law, family law, and dependency law. And have you got the children back from CPS? If the answer to that first question is yes, then the next question you should ask, if the case is closed, have you ever sued CPS and got money back from them? Now, Christina's written some very important words. I may live in Carlton County, but the case is in Saline County because my boys are put in the care of their father, and he abused one of them, and he got put into foster care instead of put into care with me. So what can I do to get both of them home safe from harm? Well, I need to know a little bit more. I can help you there. That's certainly a good request. First of all, are you going through a divorce or separation with your husband? Are you married? Were you lovers? Were you boyfriend, girlfriend, or partners? Because I think you're insinuating that the spouse or the father of the children is a bad parent. And if that is the case, why did they get put with the father if the allegations were against the father? Were there any allegations made against you? That's what's important to know. Were there any allegations made against you, Christina? You know, when CPS is involved, did they come to your home first? Did you open your door? Did you talk to them? Or did your husband talk to them? Did your husband call CPS? Who called CPS? Was it a layperson or professional? Or was it one of the family members called in? There's lots of questions I need to know so I can help you. So, in order for me to answer what you can do, one thing, have you got yourself a real professional attorney? Now, that leads me to the second rule. The second rule is your documents. It's important to have all your documents in one place. You should all put them in a notebook with a 3-ring binder, about 3 inches thick. You should have subject dividers so you can divide your documents apart so you can find something real easy. One of the documents you need to create is called a time log incident form. Now, the time log incident form is where you keep track, you document all the incidents out there. It could be incident from the proceedings. It could be incident from the parents separated from the parent that's separated. So you create this incident log and you put on the first line the date, the time, and location, and who made the calls, what people involved. The second line is a 1-sentence summary session about what the incident was about. And then secondly, this would be the third step. Yeah. So there's lots of ways you can go on this. One of the most important thing you need, Christina, is that attorney. Your attorney will lay the framework. You should go through the attorney. Now, that rule number 2, I talked about documents. You want to hang on to that with you at all times because those things could help you, such as if you're taking parenting classes, you want to put certificates in there. If you're doing programs, you need the certificate in there. If you're doing drug tests, you need the results put in there. So it should be all the important things that you have: driver's license, shot record, the children's grade reports, any other incidents. Now, I want to welcome Jay Lean. I think you're new. I have not seen you before. A warm welcome. And let's see where you're from. Jolene, listen to him. We got our 3-year-old daughter back after 50 months. I couldn't have done it without this kind of advice. Get your kids back. Well, thank you, Jolene. Thank you. I'm so glad. It makes my heart warm that you got your 3-year-old daughter after 15 months. That's great. And hopefully they'll stay your lives. But you want to purge your CPS case. You want to remove it. You need to ask your attorney, how do I purge my case at CPS? How to get it out of there? Because you don't want that resurfacing again. Because they have a habit of coming back. they have a habit coming back. So I'm so happy that you got your child back. Now, Christina wrote in further here, and let's see what she said. I have to adjust the screen because it's a little bit different. We were in couple and separated when my oldest was 1 year old, but I was pregnant with my youngest son. Well, was that youngest son a same father or a different father? Then my older children, teenager and preteen, got into some trouble and it was taken care of, but the process, the father filed for custody, and from that time on, he was making multiple false allegations against me. Yeah, the divorce is a messy thing. With divorce, you should really try to work hard at your marriage. I know I have a hard marriage. I have 41 years of marriage, and believe me, it has been hard. It's been hard. Now, if you're going to get separated or divorced, there should be a settlement conference where it takes place before you are. That's where you meet with your spouse and usually a professional person that is a mitigator that help you make sure that's what you want. They'll talk about assets and talk about a lot of other things too. But it's sad when parents use their children to alienate one parent from another. Now, it looks like when you say older teenager, preteen, I'm confused. How many children are we talking about? And are all they from the same father? I think you say was 1 year old, and then you have a teenager and a preteen. So that's before the teenager. So you must have, is it 3 children you have or 4 children? I'm not trying to be hard or difficulty. I'm just trying to understand and help you, Christina. And Christina, by the way, is from Missouri. Now, Christina further says, yes, they're all by the same father. So how many children are we talking about? We talking about 3 children? And if the father is the one that got custody, what did they accuse you of? You said he was molesting one of the boys. That's fine. That's not a problem being never married. I'm not saying this is a show about marriage is the only thing. There are all kinds of relationships. There are people that get married, or there are people that stay boyfriend, girlfriend, or there's relationships where it's just lovers. They met, were romantic, but they didn't want all the strings of commitment. Then there is the partnership. That's where maybe they don't. Maybe it's two people together that want to work out a partnership with raising the children. So let's see what else she said, Christina. Okay, I know that you're never married, but didn't you say something else? Okay. All right. 2 girls, not all the same father. Okay. All right. So how many boys and how many girls? We have 2 girls. Is it 2 boys? And is the father the same as the 2 boys? What about the father of 2 girls? Is he in the picture? Your case is very complex as we talk on. And if you could tell me everything at once, it'd make it easy so we don't have to play ping pong ball back and forth. I don't mind. I'll sit here all day. But try to be complete with your case. Start from day one. They came knocking at your door, or they called you on the phone, or you received a letter. How did your case start? And what were the accusations? And maybe you did wrong things. They came to your door, you probably let them in. You gave them permission. And you probably did not know you don't have to let them in. You don't have to give permission. And you certainly don't have to talk to them. Because if you're accused of something, you're entitled to a lawyer right away. Because anytime you're accused of something, you're supposed to have a defense. So that's now rule number 3 is the really important one too, because it's where you don't want to let them in your home, either the police or the social workers. You don't want to answer the door. You never know what's going to be at that door. Too many people have been shot point blank and killed. That's another reason you don't answer the door. Also, if you do talk to them, you can tell them, I cannot talk to you until my attorney's present, because your constitutional right is that anytime you're in the charge in the law, then you're entitled to a attorney to represent you. If you have one, it's great. If you don't, you can look for one, but you can get that as a stall time. Do not meet with them at their office. Do not meet with them in the home. You can meet with them at Starbucks or McDonald's, some places public. So we have 2 to 4 children. I think it's 2 boys, 2 girls, and 2 different fathers. But how did it all start? Now, my rule number 3 says you don't let them in the house, you don't talk to them, and you certainly don't give up your child. Now, if they have what's called a warrant, or you give them permission, or another family gives permission to enter the house, they can come in. The sad part, they may find something wrong with your house. They usually are fishing. CPS workers are fishing. That's why they want to access your house. And they bring the police out as intimidation and also for protection. Too many social workers have been hurt, so they bring out police for their protection. Now, Christina further says, the 2 boys have a different father than the 2 girls. He is accusing me of physically and sexually abusing the 2 boys, which I never had touched them in any shape or form. So maybe he was doing this to do a separation or something, or maybe he was mad at you or something like that. So with that accusation, if he calls into CPS and made the accusation, then you're going to be guilty till you prove innocent. And what you need to do is get that attorney I talked about. You get that attorney that can show you that you're not capable of doing those things. You didn't do those things. And you can, with the attorney, get custody of your children back again. Especially if your husband, I shouldn't say your husband, if the father of the 2 boys molested them. So we have 4 children that are all with the father, but why would the 2 girls be with the father that's not their father? Are the 2 girls with you? Are the 2 girls with you? Now, we have been talking about rule number 3. about saying no, not talking to, because anything you say will be held against you. Now, also, you have to be careful about medical trafficking. That's where you bring your child in to urgent care or to the emergency room of the hospital for a severe illness. There are case workers that work for CPS that are working at the hospital. You be careful of them because they'll misunderstand things and try to take your children away. Now, if you want to call in, there's still about 15 minutes we can talk. It might go a little bit quicker if you could talk. It's 626-698-0990. Now, I have my number up there, 888-888-6582. That's the law offices of Vincent W. Davis. And you can get there to get a lot of things. One, if you want to speak to Mr. Davis about a retainer to hire him. Two, you may want the new guide that's out. There's a new parent guide. It's catering towards grandparents, but it's the Grandparents Guide of California of how the step-by-step to get your children, be guardianship of your children or to see your children. It's a real good book. It's $9.99, but if you call in at that number, 888-888-6582, and tell them you have a discount code for that $9.99, it's going to be $6.99. And all you do is use the code PACE, P-A-C-E, all capital letters, 50, PACE 50. And that will get you in. Now, we have a longer passage here, and I'll try to bring it up here. Christina, who's from Georgia, says the girl's father is not in the picture for the girls. Okay, so there's two fathers. The fathers of the two girls is not in the picture. The two girls are with me full time. CPS called me to let me know that my oldest son had been removed from the father's home, and now I have to jump their hoops just to get a visit to see my oldest son. But my question is, why didn't they remove my youngest son and remove my oldest son here? Good morning. And who I have the pleasure of speaking to?
This is Christina.
Oh, thank you, Christina, for calling back. This may be a little bit easier if we go back and forth on the phone. So to sum up what you've been talking about is that you're involved, you have 4 children and 2 different fathers. And one father
Correct.
with the 2 girls has nothing to do with the picture at all. But it's the father that has the 2 boys. Now, somehow the father made allegations against you that were not true. And so he gained custody of the 2 boys. But then one of the boys was abused by the father. And now CPS has removed that boy. I guess was abused by the father. And now you have to jump hoops to get to visit the oldest boy. What do you mean jump hoops? What are you doing that CPS is asking you to do?
They're asking me to do parenting class. They want me to, it's some type of parenting class that is not a normal parenting class.
Oh, you mean they want you to take some additional classes. Now, when the father of the 2 boys accused you of doing something wrong, were you proven that you did something wrong? Were you ever proven that?
No, I was not. It was
Okay.
all unfounded.
All right. So why do you have to take parenting classes?
Because of how my son is. He's not really ADHD. He's got post-traumatic stress disorder.
He's a special needs son. He's a special needs son. And is he the 15-year-old? Is he the 15-year-old?
No, he just turned 12.
Okay, he's a 12-year-old. Well, he needs special needs. So there's no question about that. And, are the parenting classes that long or out of the question about taking, or that costly? What is the parenting class they want you to take?
It's more, to me, this kind of parenting class that they want me to go through is more like a counseling.
Well,
it's not really teaching me anything about parenting, which I know how to parent my kids.
Yeah.
Or, because I had all my kids before a situation with the girls that happened a few years ago. And that situation got taken care of, case closed, but they're using that against me just to try to get my son back from his father.
Wow. Do you have an attorney, by the way?
No, I'm on disability. It's hard for me to try to get one.
Okay. Are you given a court-appointed attorney?
They said I don't need one at the moment.
Well, I think you need somebody there to defend you, because you're being taken. See, CPS is bad. There's no question that CPS is bad.
Yes, I know.
And they can't be trusted. And you may have one of those rogue CPS systems out there that are bad. Not all CPS is bad, but it seems like the people that are on my show all have bad CPS. They all have something in common. And they want to milk it out because they're wanting to make money. In order to drag out the case, they're going to make you go through hoops so they get more money.
And that's what they're trying to do, considering he's special needs and they get more money for a special child.
Yes, they do. They get almost double the amount. I know that my kids, when they were taken, and the county was getting $20,000 per child for each of my 3 kids from the state, who in turn gets the money from the federal government. But that's a lot of money. That's $60,000. And they did that for 3 years. 3 years. So you can see it's a money-making venture. And all the social worker told me, she bragged about her Gucci purse, her eyelashes, her makeup, her accessories, her clothing, and her BMW car. That's all she talked about. She says, I get a bonus. I get incentive to do this and that. She wasn't interested in the family. That's the sad part. When you have corrupt social workers administrating the case with very little, she didn't have a license, even a high school education. She wasn't trained, but she knew about money. She knew about money.
Right. And also on top of that is he didn't just abuse them. His wife, as my son was doing dishes, she had a pot of boiling hot water on the stove, and she took that pot of boiling water and poured it on my son's hand. And they let that slide. And
that was a disciplinary measure?
And that's what his wife said, yeah.
Wow. And what does CPS say about that?
My son was still in the home at the time for a couple weeks. And I was like, let him come home to me before anything else worse happened.
Well, I know that.
No, we can't do that because of all the allegations and yada, yada. I was like,
what did CPS...
Okay, what am I supposed to do?
Yeah, what did CPS say when they heard that your son had been scalding water put on his hand? What did they do?
They didn't do nothing. They left him in the home for a couple more weeks. They just took him out on November 1st.
Well, that's where an attorney would come in hand, because an attorney would know that they can't get away with that. That foster care will lose its license, and the son will be taken out of that foster care.
No, I'm talking about the boys' dad's mom or stepmom.
Oh.
My boys.
Okay, what you could do there, you could call CPS and have her taken in for doing physical abuse to your son.
Right, that's what they're working on now to see what all charges is going to be brought up upon her.
Right. You just tell, which starts off with, you call 911 and say that your son just had hot scalding water put on by his stepmom. And then the police will come out and investigate, and they'll call CPS because it involves a minor, and they'll investigate it. Or you can call directly to CPS and tell them directly that the stepmom of your son poured scalding hot water on your son.
You're not understanding what I'm saying.
Oh.
Before he was taken out of the home, that's when it happened. And CPS investigated it, and they didn't see apparently immediate danger at that time. So they left him in the home until, more abuse was coming in, but he was neglecting his medical health because of his special needs.
What about the doctor? Did your son get taken to the doctor? Don't you still have, medical rights, don't you?
I do, but I have no, at the time, the father put it to where I don't have no say-so in the final say of what school he goes to, what hospital he goes to, what his doctors are, or anything. I was having supervised visits, which shouldn't even happen as supervised visits. It should have been the other way around, where he got supervised visits and I had the kid. But no, I didn't have a lawyer at the time when all this was taking place before the boys got put into the father's home.
Yeah.
I didn't have a lawyer to stand up for my rights.
Right. Now, if you do ask, I know I downplay the court-appointed attorney or the public defender because they're not really the kind of lawyer you need, but they're better than nothing. And if you heat fire underneath that attorney, you should request CPS provide you with the attorney. And then you should...
CPS, I can ask them to provide a lawyer.
Well, right. You can go to the court. Like when you had your first day in court, do you ever show up in court?
Yes, I do.
Well, you can ask the judge, you need an attorney, a court-appointed attorney.
He denied me.
Why would he deny you
judge here
attorney?
In this county denied me.
Why? What was his rationale for that?
He tried to say that I was making too much when I provided all of my financial that I have in this home, but he said I was making too much.
So you made...
But I'm only making $9 something a month.
Right. You made a financial case. You disclosed your finances, and he felt it was too much. What is in that particular court, what is considered low income or poverty in that city or county?
I thought when you're on disability, they were supposed to give you one, and I even provided that it was a disability check that I get every month. And he's like, "Oh, you're making too much." I don't see how.
Well, I hate to say it, the judge works for CPS, the attorneys work for CPS.
Yep.
They're all against you, and that must be a terrible feeling. That's a terrible feeling. And you can't afford an attorney. That's even worse.
Right.
Do you have a computer so you can go to the internet, right?
I got my phone.
Okay, well, maybe on your phone you can do the same thing, but you really need to research it on the phone. And it's important that you phrase your search question correctly. You start off with the city, the state, and then the letters CPS, and then whatever you want, like a court-appointed attorney, or not a court-appointed attorney, but attorney, let's say, that is in dependency law, juvenile law, and family law. That's the kind of attorney you want. And you'd be surprised all the names that show up there, and maybe one of them will take on your case. You can talk about pro bono too. Now, pro bono.
Okay, you said
Pro bono
the
is
city, the state,
yeah, the
the
city.
county, and
No,
what
no,
was the last part
not
of
the
it?
city, just the city, the state, and the letters CPS. Now, when you put
Oh,
those
and
letters CPS, a lot of things will pop up, but you want to refine your search, so you put down what kind of attorney you're looking for. You're looking for
so it'd be family law, wouldn't it?
well, yeah, but it's got to have juvenile law and dependency law. The court is actually called dependency court. It's family law. You're right. It's family law. But then a bunch of names and numbers
Okay.
will appear. Then you can call them, and maybe there's one that is for pro bono. That means they'll take the case without charging. I'm not saying they'll be any good, but you also, when you talk to them, you have to ask that two important questions. Question one: are you trained in the area of law and license in juvenile family dependency law? And have you won cases against CPS and got children back? If the answer is yes, you ask the second question: have you ever sued CPS after the case is closed? Have you ever sued CPS in a civil lawsuit and won money back from them? If the answer is yes, then you finally labeled down an attorney you can ask for how much what the retainer is, or if they do pro bono work.
Okay.
And did you
I
know?
will do that then.
And I also am going to give you one of the three candidates you can talk to, because you're talking on my podcast. You're entitled to a 15-minute conference with Mr. Davis. He's my attorney, and he will talk to you for 15 minutes on a private Zoom call. Are you interested?
Yeah, that'd be fine.
Okay, all you have to do, the number you called in, you have to text me your full name and your phone number and your email, and I'll set up with my show producer who will arrange a private consultation with Mr. Davis. You make yourself a list of questions. Prioritize the most important question is number one and so forth. Then ask away, and he'll give you 15 minutes.
Okay.
And maybe he can shed a light and help you out there. But I just looked at the clock now. It's after 11 o'clock, and so I have to end my podcast. And I want to thank you for calling in, and that you can continue this call and your questions tonight if you want to be on my show at 7 o'clock. Okay?
At 7 o'clock your time.
Yeah.
And it's 1 o'clock here, so
Right.
it'd be 9 o'clock my time.
Right. And I want to say hello to Margaret King, who came in the room. And she says her 5-year-old granddaughter was perfectly happy tonight that child, and since she's been traumatized, taken from her former home, they want to say she needs mental health. I'm sorry to hear that, Margaret. That is sad. And good morning, Margaret. I appreciate you calling in there. But I do have to wrap the show up. I want to thank all the people that have texted me message or called in. And we have Christina that has been talking to me live. We had Jolene who called in, and I appreciate hearing about the good news from the advice you got from me. It worked. And so that was good to hear. And so I want to thank all my listeners, and I want to thank the emojis, the thumbs up and the hearts. That's nice that you guys did that. I really like that. That is nice, sir. Thank you, Christina. And Philistine. Philistine is from Canada. She's my Canadian friend from South Brunswick there. And she also gave the thumbs up. So again, to all you listeners, I'll be on again at 7 o'clock tonight. That's Pacific Standard Time. And I love to talk to you more. I'm on twice a day, so don't hang in there. And whatever you do, keep fighting for your children back. I want to help you. And God bless you all. And this is Bob Pace signing off. There'll be a brief message from Vincent Davis.
Feeling lost in the maze of CPS? Desperate to get your child back? You're not alone. Countless parents face the heart-wrenching reality of family separation. The legal system can be overwhelming, but there's hope.
Now, here's the key. Faith, that's how you win a 6-month hearing.
Thank you.
If you do all of those things, you're going to blow your social worker's mind, you're going to blow your attorney's mind, and you're going to blow away the judge.
With attorney Vincent W. Davis, a dedicated legal expert with 39 years of experience, committed to helping families like yours. Join his weekly live Q&A on Zoom, where you can ask your burning questions about CPS cases. Get the knowledge and strategies you need to fight for your child's return.
Alrighty, good evening everyone. This is a question and answer session.
Are you ready to take control of your family's future? Participate as a one-time guest. Don't let fear hold you back. Take the first step towards reuniting your family. Join us now.